Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Discovery, Season 2, Episode 2, New Eden. It's an old story. It's a very old story. Like, this is stuff from the original series, Next Generation, like almost every other episode. I mean, this is something not new. Even Voyager, like, found humans in the Delta Quadrant and, like, had to figure out what's going on. But Discovery does kind of change it and gives it a new face. So, from the beginning, where, like, so the last episode ended with Michael being like, I'd like to talk to Spock. And Pike's like, I'm sorry, Spock's on vacation. He's not here. Boom. The start of the second episode is like, Spock is actually in the psychiatric ward. Motherfucker, why didn't you just say that to begin with? Like, I don't know. It just seemed like this long, drawn-out thing to go from episode 1 to episode 2 to be like, he's on vacation, and he had months of it saved up, to, nah, he's actually committed. I lied to you. So, right from the get-go, like, I'm having troubles with this. They talk about how, so Pike is there, and he's, like, got joint custody with Saru over Discovery, and they're like, Pike wants to go check out these little red dots that are spread out the galaxy. The closest one is in the Beta Quadrant, which they don't talk about very often. I think this is like the third time they've actually said Beta Quadrant. And so they decide to jump, which, I don't know, Stamets was so against Lorca, but he's like, okay, I'll do it again. And I'll have to do it back, so he's going to do it at least twice. So, I don't know, that seems weird that they didn't even ask him. They're like, hey, you said you were done doing this. Are you sure you're willing to do it again for Pike instead of Lorca? That's all they needed, was a little 2-minute scene right there. So they jump to the Beta Quadrant, and guess what? There's a human settlement. Nobody's been this far into the Beta Quadrant before, but there's already humans here. Like I said, how many reviews have I done with that storyline? There's a distress call, but it's been on loop for 200 years, which would place it roughly around World War III, which is kind of interesting. Again, we've talked about World War III quite a bit, going all the way back to, like, First Contact, and I think even before First Contact. In, like, The Next Generation, I think they talked about World War III. Now, here's what I actually kind of geeked over a little bit. So, in these reviews, going all the way back, maybe even my first review, I should rewatch my Cage video, I have talked about how I absolutely love Clark's Law. They actually call it Clark's Third Law. I've always just said, like, Clark's Law, which it's Arthur C. Clarke, the guy that wrote 2001 Space Odyssey, has said something, I've always paraphrased it, where it's like, basically, nobody can tell the difference between advanced science and magic. So, if somebody, like, pops in here and with a replicator, people are going to be like, oh my god, it's magic. Whereas if I just took my cell phone or something that did not require a battery, but whatever, and go back 200 years ago, it would be the exact same thing. They would be like, oh my god, it's magic. And I'm like, no, that's just an everyday phone, man. What are you talking about? So, like, I've always loved that, where it's like, you can't tell the difference between advanced science and magic. I've said that in at least a dozen videos. At least. I absolutely love it. And so, they actually changed it. So Pike brings it up. He's like, do you know Clark's Third Law? And Michael recites it to him, and he's like, they actually rechanged it. So what did he say? Extraterrestrial intelligence is indistinguishable from God. So now they've changed it from advanced science looks like magic to advanced extraterrestrial intelligence looks like God. And it's like, oh, like, you just changed it from, like, this cool sci-fi thing to a religious aspect. Like, I thought it was really interesting. So anyways, they go down to the planet, stained glass windows, you see the Red Angel in there, and it's just this hodgepodge of religions, anything you can imagine. And they slowly start learning that these people were basically taken from Earth and put on this planet, didn't know who to pray to because there was a whole bunch of different beliefs, so they just kind of combined it all into one. I'm okay with that. I think there's way too many religions and they all fight, and it's just, well. Anyway, Tilly has a whole weird subplot where, like, she's in the explosion, and then she starts seeing this woman everywhere. And at first you kind of just assume she's a nurse or something because she's always in, like, the medical bay. But then, and like every time Tilly leaves, she's just sitting there smiling. It's really creepy. And then you start to realize Tilly sees her on the bridge, and she gives her she calls her something like Stilly. And so Tilly looks her up in the yearbook, which I loved. I thought it was a great little digital yearbook. My senior year, my yearbook is actually a CD or like a DVD. So interesting to see how they are developing. So anyways, and it turns out she's dead. So weird. Like, who knows where that's going. So anyways, from there, Pike talks to Jacob, the believer on the planet who believes in science over religion. Pike does the trade for like a battery cell for a helmet, and then seeing the helmet, we see the Red Angel again. So clearly this is the overall arc for the season, and you can tell Tilly is going to be like the subplot. Overall, it was a really interesting episode. It was a really good episode. But like it's something we've seen over and over again, but it does have a brand new face. It is the Discovery point of view for this, and it was really good. I actually did enjoy it. So for those who have seen it, what did you think about like jumping to the Beta Quadrant? What did you think about the Clark's third law? What did you think about Tilly? And what did you think about like the Red Angel so far? Go ahead, let me know, and I will see you guys next time for Point of Light.